Okay, welcome, and thank you for attending our press conference this morning. Disaster preparedness starts with a good plan and a community commitment. Thank you for your commitment for being here today, all of our partners. Disaster preparedness starts with a good plan. We are here to celebrate public health, and this marks 125 years of public health in Florida and with your county health department. We want to recognize the role that individuals and private-public partnerships play in the health of our community. Today we're here discussing and focusing on disaster preparedness and steps we can take to better be prepared. As we ask individuals to take steps to prepare, we also recognize the critical infrastructure role that the agencies that represented today will play in the event we have a disaster. Collaboration and planning with law enforcement, county government, fire rescue, public safety, emergency planning, hospitals, schools, and others will ensure we have an effective plan. Our role at the health department during hurricanes is to protect some of the most vulnerable citizens with shelter, health care, and emotional support. We cannot effectively do that with those residents unless they take an active role in their care. That means signing up for special needs registry. I am humbled to be up here today with such great leaders and have every confidence that we will make a difference to help the people we serve. Thank you. Sheriff?
Oh, I guess our big message today is it could happen to any of us. We've been blessed in Florida the past couple of years that we have not seen a major natural disaster. That does not mean it can't happen. The one thing that's unfortunate when we don't have disasters, people get very comfortable. They say it won't happen to me. It won't happen here in Pasco County. It can. A couple of years ago, we had a tropical storm. I can say with the collaborative work, with all these people brought forward today, with all our agencies, we were able to make a positive impact out there to save lives and protect property. But our biggest asset is for our citizens to be out there, to be vigilant, and to be prepared. And to recognize that when we do tell you to evacuate, please evacuate. We do it because we're trying to save you and your family. What you can do right now to prepare yourself is log on to the Pasco Sheriff's Office Facebook page and our Twitter site, because when a disaster does occur, we'll be able to provide you immediate information. The other thing too is have a plan in place with your family. For many people, they have family that live outside the area. Have a plan in place to be able to contact them so you know where they are. And they can contact you and say, okay, we know where your plan is to go in case you are evacuated out of your home. The other place is have a plan for your pets. You know, what is forgotten a lot of times, but at the last moment remembered, is that when you have a dog, a cat, or some other type of pet, how are you going to protect that animal? The other one too is you may need to have cash on hand. You know, in a disaster, the ATM machines may go down. You need to have cash to be able to go. But the one thing is be prepared. Have a box set aside for your family as to necessities for you and your family to survive. Know where you're going to go and do it early. Because when you start seeing the waters coming up, when you start seeing the radar maps that the winds and the gusts are coming in extremely high and very fast, that's not the time to leave. The time to leave is when we ask you to leave. And we're going to have the people in place to do that. So again, I want to thank our partners because this is a partnership. None of us can do this alone. And it especially includes you, our citizens. We need your help. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Randy TeBeest, Assistant County Administrator for Public Safety Administration. On behalf of Administrator Baker, I want to welcome you here today at the advent of National Public Health Week to discuss Pasco County disaster preparedness. First, I want to thank Sheriff Nocco and Public Health Officer Mike Napier for partnering with us this morning. Also joining me is Director of Emergency Services Chief Scott Cassin, Director of Public Safety Communications Dona Fernandes, and Director of the Office of Emergency Management Annett Doying. This turnout this morning is indicative of how important the county takes disaster preparedness and emergency response, not just during hurricane season, but year-round. And this grouping of public safety professionals illustrates the continuous partnering that occurs on a daily basis, as well as during times of extreme emergency, to keep the residents of Pasco County safe. All these offices have plans and protocols, procedures for nearly every conceivable emergency or disaster that may affect this county. And they practice their profession every single day. They're prepared to take the necessary steps and well-planned steps to ensure the continuity of critical public services that our residents rely on in the event of a local disaster. But that's only half our message this morning. I know these teams are amply prepared, but are our residents as prepared with their own family plans, as the sheriff alluded to? Take a moment to ask yourself this question. If you heard a destructive tornado was going to hit our community in 16 minutes, do you and your family have a survival plan? Hopefully you can answer yes to that question, but according to the Center for Disaster Preparedness, most of us do not have such a plan in the event of a disaster. 16 minutes is the amount of time that the residents of Moore, Oklahoma had in 2005, in May of last year, to react from the moment a tornado warning was issued to the moment a destructive tornado touched down in their community. That F5 tornado caused vast destruction, injured hundreds, took 24 American lives, and changed the landscape of that community forever. Now, 16 minutes in the science of tornado forecasting is an eternity, and it's far greater warning than we had even just a decade ago. But 16 minutes when the storm of a lifetime is bearing down upon your county and your home is the blink of an eye. What would you do with that time? Would you go to your children's school or your spouse's workplace, or would you try to find a more secure location, a shelter? How would you communicate with your family members if phone lines are down? Where would you meet them if your home was destroyed? And where is the safest place to go post-storm? These are questions we all need to think about before we need that survival plan. In a moment, these subject matter experts are going to be giving you a few tips to think about as you prepare your own family survival plan. But if you have not yet taken the first steps in your disaster preparedness planning, I urge you tonight to simply take a few minutes to speak with your loved ones on what to expect in the event of an emergency, what not to expect, and what our community may look like in the event of a disaster. Thank you for being here today. And now I'll turn over to Chief Cassin. I'll swap places with you.
Thank you, Randy. Good morning. As Chief of the Department, I couldn't be more proud of the men and women of Pasco County Fire Rescue. They stand at the ready 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to answer the more than 160 calls for emergency help each and every day here in Pasco County. But there are some things that you can do to help reduce these numbers. As you already heard earlier, first and foremost, have a plan. A disaster can strike at any moment, so it's best to be prepared ahead of time for fire, flood, or a host of other disasters that can occur often without warning. 3 things that you can do today are: 1, check the batteries in your smoke alarms, and if you have one, your carbon monoxide alarm as well. A good way to remember this is to do it twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall when we change our clocks for daylight saving time. 2, we're currently getting ready to head into brush fire season here in Pasco County. You want to keep thick vegetation away from your home and keep all tall grasses mowed short. You essentially want to create a natural barrier around your home between you and any forested or brush areas. And finally, practice your plans. Make sure everyone in your family knows what to do when the smoke alarm sounds at 3 in the morning. Make sure they know what to do when there's a severe thunderstorm approaching. And most importantly, know how to access help by calling 911. For more information on these and other safety tips, you can check out our website at pascocountyfl.net/fire rescue. That's pascocountyfl.net/fire rescue. Thank you for your attention, and I'm now going to turn it over to Public Safety Communications Director Dona Fernandes.
Good morning. On behalf of the Public Safety Communications Center, I'd like to remind everyone that 911 is there for life and death emergencies. We do ask that during severe weather, due to call volume increases, that you do utilize these other resources for non-emergency events or information, including weather, evacuation zones, etc. That information will be posted on our websites, and we do ask that you to use those appropriately. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see quite all right.
Hello, I'm Annett Doying, Director for Pasco County's Office of Emergency Management. It's definitely my privilege to stand up here with these first responders, these people who are right on the front line of helping the community get through emergencies and disasters. The role of the Office of Emergency Management is to work with these partner agencies to make sure that they are very prepared in the event that an emergency escalates into a true disaster. I'm proud to tell you that these agencies are prepared to serve even in the worst of times. We're all busy right now preparing for hurricane season. It's one of our most significant threats in our community, and we are very aware of the nature of the outcomes of the impact of a hurricane, the effects from storm surge along our coast, freshwater flooding throughout our community, and high wind. We hope that you've begun to think about hurricane season as well. There's a lot that a citizen, a resident, a visitor can do to prepare for a hurricane, to prepare themselves, to protect their family, their home, their property, their pets. If you need assistance in developing your plan, if you need advice about what you can do to protect yourself, we urge you to contact the Office of Emergency Management at 727-847-8137 or to navigate through PascoCountyFL.net's website to get to the Office of Emergency Management homepage. There you're going to find an abundance of tips about how to prepare for a full range of disasters, from the wildfire to the freshwater flood event to the high wind event or the coastal storm surge. Thank you very much for your time today and your attention to these matters, and very much appreciation to Mike Napier for organizing this event.
Any questions from the group? That concludes our official speaking points. If there's any other questions?
Is there anything new this year that residents wouldn't have known about last year or when Debbie came through that is a new program that could be beneficial?
We've made some significant strides in our attempts.
Go to the microphone.
All right. I'd say that in the last couple of years in our community, we've made some strides towards improving our methods of communicating both to the public and to the emergency response network. We label that effort alert, warning, and notification. Pasco County possesses software, hardware, the technology that's needed to alert and warn the public and the partner agencies that something is going on that's worse than the usual thing. And so we've been focused on improving the use of that technology, improving the dialogue with the partner agencies and with the community about how to participate in the alert, warning, notification process. We're getting ready to bring on some additional technology that relies on the resident or the visitor to subscribe to the alert, warning, and notification systems. As we've moved away from landline home phones, what we've seen is a decrease in our ability to reach out and tell people that things have gone wrong. As cell phones have created a more mobile community, we rely on the cell phone user to subscribe to things like Twitter feeds, to our social media, to access our websites, and to sign up for alert, warning, and notification through those mechanisms. And so that's, I would say, one of the things that we've focused on. It's really just about telling people that something's going on around them.
The one point I want to make is, and that's 100% right, social media is huge. The fact that during a disaster, you can go onto our Facebook page, the Twitter sites, and you get information. There's another key component. Pasco County is in a very unique situation. We're growing tremendously by leaps and bounds. If you go down our 54 corridor in Trinity, you can see the growth. I give a lot of credit to our county commissioners. They're out there pushing for the Ridge Road extension. That's one of the things when you talk about public safety, that Ridge Road extension is critical. The Sheriff's Office will be out there, one of the primary agencies, to evacuate and moving people down the road if we have to evacuate West Pasco. But it's not just West Pasco that we'll be dealing with, it's also North Pinellas. North Pinellas is going to have to come through Pasco County down State Road 54. Again, our commissioners are doing a great thing out there fighting for that Ridge Road extension. It's not only for the quality of life of today, thank God that nothing horrible is happening. It's for that worst case scenario. We need Ridge Road because if we try to evacuate people from North Pinellas and West Pasco, State Road 54 is going to look like a parking lot That's why that is critical to our success in a disaster.
I'd actually like to shore that up a little bit with some other information. Sure. Comfortable with that. You know, to just continue, you know, this point that the sheriff's made, we also have been working hard to identify additional shelter locations that are north of State Road 54 and east of Little Road. This is an area that we know will have to provide relief to the folk that the sheriff's staff is helping to move along the road network. They need a destination. They need a safe haven. And with the burgeoning population along 54, you know, the southwest corner of Pasco, the northwest corner of Pinellas County, we know that there's going to be a large number of people that are seeking a destination. So we've been working hard to identify additional locations in that area. We're close, and we hope that on the eve of hurricane season this year, we're able to share with the community the securing of additional locations for their destination on that pathway.
Do you have a number that you're looking at?
A number as far as number of locations or capacity?
Yeah.
We're currently looking at 3 key locations, but we've got 8 on the table that we're evaluating. We're working with the American Red Cross to evaluate the structural integrity and the mass care capacity of those locations. Most of them are privately owned, and so that creates another level of negotiation, right, for the use and occupancy of those facilities. And in addition to just the pure number of facilities that we've identified, what we are also very concerned with is the fact that a handful of our shelters along the coast, in a strong hurricane event, a Category 3, 4, or 5, 4 of our shelters we would not make use of. And that creates potentially a shelter space deficit for about 5,000 people in Pasco County. And so we're not just looking at the number of facilities, but we're stressing our need to ensure that we have sufficient capacity, you know, safe haven with good amount of space that serves people's needs while they're hunkered down in those locations.